This is a quick video to answer some of the questions that I saw in this video. Okay, he was talking about hybrid log gamma and slog, and the first thing I answered is like to understand slog or any kind of log file is really not an easy thing. So you can't learn it in 2 days or 4 days. I don't know how much experience he has with it. I've been working with the slugs like 3 years, and I still only use it when it's really necessary, because it can trick you a lot. For example, you can't really understand a slug or any kind of log profile without using the waveform, because your eyes would always lie to you. You can see this is a picture with no picture profile, and it looks what we call colorful, and it looks vibrant. There's highlights, there's dark stuff, but your eyes will adjust and you think that's the same as this or not. But you got to look at the waveform. So any profile like high dynamic range or or no color profile is going to give you this sort of an image. If you want this sort of an image with highs here and all this much range, you don't need a slog for that, because that's not the purpose of any log file. Why? Because okay, say in this example we have highlights and low control, but in this other example, okay, I'm trying to get the wine, the beer. I wanted to get it in its right about 40, 50, 60, but there's light here and I'm already going over 100. I can change my color profile, and this is another color profile, and I'm up to 92 here if I go here, but it's still, I don't have that much range. I can go up and down, and then first of all I'm going to take out all the colors. It's important. Let's check all the properties, all the color grading I've done of all these things. What is it? Remove attributes. I'm going to remove no. I'm going to remove all the color corrections that I've done. No big deal. It's not important. This is an slog file, for example. So now you're seeing the difference between this, okay, and this. If you want to get the beer up to point, you already have a starting point. But there's more to that. slog is not the intention of slog is not to get this look like in the example he's trying to get the maximum dynamic range of slog, because before you do that, you got to understand that this kind of it's not desirable to get 100 to 0, because that's always going to be video looking stuff. If you look at the example he gave here in his video, he loves this color image. But the first thing you need to do is put it through a waveform, or if ideally is to put it to a false color monitor. So I took that picture, the same picture, and it's here. And surprisingly enough, look at the waveform of that picture. That's what makes it nice. It's a tight waveform. It's not 100 to 0 like he's telling, and that's where slog is going to be helpful. It's not going to be helpful to get this, because if you need this, the best thing you can do is pull out your phone, because this is your iPhone or your Pixel is going to give you the best at this. Even what you can do with no profile, but that's the same thing. This is not a desirable look for any cinematic purposes. If you're trying to do like something really fast, you don't need slog for this, and it will probably go against you if you're trying to look for this kind of look. So if you're looking for something like this, on the other hand, with a narrow band, you can use slog and help you, because this space, when you're trying to get a cinematic look, you're going to be fighting against the color. Yeah, but if you're starting with something that's not that far away, like some, for example, look at these flowers. Okay, this is S-Log. If you notice, it's in this shot, it's going from here to here. So we are the darkest spot here is at 25. So we could have handled something a lot lower and not higher. But if I wanted to get a crispy, contrasty look, why would I use S-Log for that? Why don't you use the color profiles? That's what the color profiles are for, because we can do, okay, here is the beer with no color profile. You get this wide range, and then you can use color profile 1, for example, and you can manage this a little bit. If you want to color grade, but color grade is not always about coloring everything. You need to have. That's why you need to have a purpose when you are coloring something. You need to have a subject, but that's why it's not a good idea to do tests in the house, in the sofas, because when I'm taking this shot, I'm centering on the beer. So now, that's what's going to make my decision. Do I use S-Log? Do I not use S-Log? Do I light it? Do I not light it? And that makes a difference, because I can go high, I can go low. I can take the beer. I cannot take the beer. And for example, these flowers, the same thing. I wanted to get a nice cinematic look. I don't want to get for example, let's spot a spot where here is a good spot. Right here. If I wanted to get that crisp look from, this is S-Log, but that's the second question. He wants to use logs. If you wanted to get that kind of look, first of all, you got to start with a lens that can give you that. It's not, if you're having a photo lens, you're not going to get that cinematic look necessarily, because you're starting with a very lens that's centered on crispiness. This is not the look I want for this. If I'm going to use S-Log, I want to have a dramatic, a cinematic, a smooth look. Okay, let's see if we pull in the LUTs. Like I said, the other thing he was commenting about using LUTs. The thing about LUTs, that's what all LUTs do. If you have an image, that's what LUTs. It's a good starting point to practice, but soon you realize that most LUTs, all they are doing is they're lowering the highlights, crossing the highlights, buffing up the midtones, and lowering it. That's a lot. That's what you're gonna do. And then if after this you start messing up with the image, the LUT already it crushed all this stuff. So now you get this look. Just cross all the most LUTs, and you gotta look at it in the waveform. You can't look at it in the main monitor. You're gonna get this look versus that look, and they say, oh, it's cinematic, whatever. But that's what most LUTs are gonna do that. So it's a good starting point, but you gotta understand that once you bake that LUT in there, you gotta know what you wanted before you started, because you're not gonna have that much flexibility unless it's a very natural LUT, or unless you know what you're doing with the colors, and using the wave, you are separating the colors, and that's what they do. For example, you can take an S-Log file here. This is same S-Log file, and use the built-in LUT. That's a starting point, but it might not always work. The built-in LUT, and now we are where he was with the high dynamic range. Now we are in the same sort of place, because right now you take here and you the test he was doing, you lower the highs, and of course you got all this room, but that's that's not the same thing. And the strange thing is that when you're an slog file, you're bumping up the highs. That should not be there, because slog, you need to expose when the 2+2 is blinking. That's where slog is comfortable. As long as there's no clips and the +2 in the camera is blinking, that's where it is. So this is no good, but I can do it. And besides, in Sony cameras, you can overexpose if you're not in a lot. If you're not in a lot, you can overexpose a little bit. You just make sure you don't clip too much, and you're gonna get good images. Even though it's overexposed the highs, it's still a very nice image. And yeah, I can go and I can try to get that crunchy look that we had in the video, but that's not the purpose of at all. It's a beautiful image, beautiful control. That's not the purpose of S-Log. That's not the purpose of S-Log. It's a handmade. No, yeah, so you're gonna get ugly stuff, because that's not. Why would I want to do that with an image? If in any case, I want to lower the highs a little bit, the lows a little bit, and that's what I want. This is the image I want. I want something that's that appeals to the senses. I don't want. This looks very good. And once if you shoot with a regular profile, you're not going to be able to get this kind of look. You're not going to be able to get it, because you're already you have to remove the blacks. It might be noisy, but I want that sensibility. You can get that with if you're not using a lot, if that's what you need. But you need to know that you need this kind of stuff, because if later I want to, for example, change the color drastically to make it because it's a feature, yeah, I want to change the coloration. I can still do that, because it's a log profile and gives me that flexibility. If I wanted to crunch it like the mobile, I could do that. I would have to do a couple of steps. I would have to do the black separately, but I could do it. But the other way around, I'm not sure you can do that. So I can then change the mood, change everything, because I have a lot of the information that I want, which is not the dark, but I don't, the blacks will taint your colors a lot, and that's not the part that you want to save. You want to get the information on the highlights, and that's the purpose of a Slog, to get nice cinematic images, not video looking images. Because if you're going to crunch all the colors and get the maximum color, don't use a Slog. But I can't get this to look like if it was shot on a Slog. You can't. Estoy grabando. Ahora voy. You can't get this to do like S-Log, So that's what I'm saying. And if you want to start with lots, it's a good thing to play around, but you don't need lots, because you it's a reference, but you need to learn how it works, what it works, and when it doesn't, how a lot is I see a lot as I want to get there, so you learn how to get there, and until you get you have the lot to give a look. But if you're going to take a lot and play around with it, make sure that the lot is not, who makes the lot, and on what's the purpose of the lot, and what is the purpose of shooting this. Because if I'm shooting this image that is the beer, and I put a log here, the basic log here, which I'm okay, and I want to play with this image. I gotta know what I want. Let's try this. Okay, I'm shooting here. I want to lower the highlights, for example. I can put on the mids, for example. But I don't want to have this kind of image. That's not what I want. I want something that's sensible. That's not. I don't even want this. I would want something like that. And then I can play with saturation. And the final contrast, I can do it with saturation. That's a good thing, because since I don't have very much in the lows, I can boost up the saturations and not have this ugly video color stuff. And that's what I want Slog. I don't want now this image to make it look like, because a mobile can give me this kind of thing. You can do the high dynamic range. They do it perfect, especially like the iPhone, and they just do it perfect. But now, if I want this soft looking images, it's not going to give me that. It's just not going to give me that kind of dream look, which I can then change the color, change the tonalities, and it's going to affect me. Noise, it's the noise and the well, you can denoise that, but if you want to capture, for example, this light and this moment and this essence, you can't recapture that from a crunchy image. And that's why it gives you a little bit more flexibility if your purpose is to get creamy light here, because that's your intention of the whole. But if you're just doing test, it doesn't matter, because you're gonna go, oh, it doesn't work. Who cares if the sofa is so? You need to put a purpose in that. You put a picture of a park and expect S-Log to fix it. What's the point? Because it's not going to work for you. Or it might, but that's not the purpose of Slog. On the other hand, raw, well, you can do anything you want to raw, because it's raw. But even then, it's best that you know what you're aiming for. That's very important. So anytime you're doing a test, try to have a purpose, a delivery purpose, because otherwise you don't want to do that. And as long as it's availability, something good, but it's not the only thing in that camera, and it's definitely not a high-end video camera, and you can't judge a camera by its S-Log, or it's just crazy. Especially if you're using pre-made logs, that's not a good recommendation. I mean, you could say it's an opinion, but I think most people would say that if you are serious about color grading, here's another example. Like, this is S-Log underexposed, and then you need to bump it up, and it's overexposed, and the metering on the camera is blinking fast. Bang, 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 bang. You're overexposing this. Seems like, but now as long as it's working fine. If I don't even, there's no log here. No log, but I could do, I could start doing stuff and then mix the colors, and it's a good place. It's the look I was looking for. Something that's very flexible. Like, I can just boost up the colors and get the contrast from the colors, not from the black and the white. But that's what I would leave it. I would not go beyond that. That's even too much, because that's the look I'm after for this particular segment. And I'm not going to go. I like that, because that's what was intended for this. And a good practice is the images you like. If you have a false color monitor, false color, if people don't know, is something like you see this, but false color is going to give you this, and then you can understand what is light, what is dark, what is light, what is dark, in a objective way. It's not just what you feel. So if you look at this picture with a false monitor, you're gonna understand how the filmmakers make it. And look at this, his highlights are not. If you take this image and you bump it up, and you're gonna get that video look, which that's what he's saying. S-Log is not good for that. Of course, No one wants that look. Because if you want this look, just don't use a picture profile. So if you want a picture profile, is to get this kind of look. Okay, so this is all, and goodbye.